Alright folks, welcome back to Wilderness Wargaming. We're going to have a little bonus one here, the Adeptus Custodes faction focus, which I'm going to go ahead and release a little ahead of schedule here, just because I'm trying to catch up with these and get on to some other content other than just an endless string of faction focuses. So without further ado, let's get into it. Adeptus Custodes are an army that, other than knights, which are kind of unique because it's a gigantic walker vehicle, are the kings of eliteness. They are the kings of low model count, high value per individual model, and they are pretty amazing. Now, when I first started playing back in 2nd edition, we knew about the custodians, and there were illustrations of them, some of the sketch art in the books, but there was no custodians army. I'm not sure about when they first came out as a playable force, but I'm really glad they are. I quickly became pretty excited about these guys. Now, part of what I really like about them is the mysterious nature of them. They, someone who started 2nd edition when you couldn't even play them, they kind of have that air of the secrets and lost lore and the hidden knowledge of the Emperor that very, very few other people have any access to. Especially my chosen shield company, which is the Shadow Keepers. I really like the black with the more gold trim and darker red on them rather than the gold all over the place that most of the other shield companies seem to have. And I've really gotten enamored of them quickly. They also were by far my quickest and easiest army to put together. They are a remarkably inexpensive army to play because you can get together a force with relatively few kits. And because kits tend to be more or less the same price for the same size of kit, you can kind of get away with murder these guys. I think I figured out that I saved probably about 60% over what I saved for what I spent for comparable size of Chaos Marines. But I'm going off the top of my head. I'm not 100% sure on that. Anyhow, I've really come to like them a lot. And the other thing that's neat about them is that they have some of, in my view, some of the best Forge World models out there, some ones that are just really cool. They are, however, a little hard to put together. So let's go down and have a look at what we've got here. Now, I don't own a Land Raider yet, but I have to confess, I think that the Land Raiders look great in gold. Actually, scratch that. I do own a Land Raider Crusader, but it's still in the box, and it's going to be for the Salamanders. The Golden Land Raiders do look amazing. And one thing you see in these is these are all the non-Forge World. These are all just the mainline models. Forge World about doubles the extent of the model range for Custodians and really fills in the bottom of the older org chart, the elites, the fast attack, and the heavy support. And it also adds some interesting flyers, although I've never seen anybody actually use them. Okay, so first up, Martial Katas is their army rule. Now, this is a rule. This is the thing about the Custodes that I actually didn't like in 9th edition. The Martial Katas were just too much to keep track of during a game. Trying to pick 3 and remember what order they're in, and you can use a stance here, and then you can go to the next one, but you can't go backwards, and blah, blah, blah. And oh, by the way, some characters will let you have 2 of them active, but you can't use one that you already used, and so on and so forth. This is a lot easier. At the start of the fight phase, so both you and your opponent, select one of these stances. Okay, you got the 3 that survived are Captaris, so you can force your enemy to take a -1 to hit. Dakatari gives you sustained hits, and Rendax gives you lethal hits. Well, I think I would probably be going for Rendax most of the time, unless I knew I was going to be fighting second with the unit, and then probably go for Captaris. But this is much easier to manage. This is really good. I like this a lot. It's flexible. It gives that feel of the Custodians. Each squad and individual making their own choices and doing what they need to do at any given moment to be successful. And it is just this is just so much easier than the old system. Yeah, that alone just makes it wonderful. And then we've got the Aegis of the Emperor. This is the detachment rule for the default detachment. And that's going to give you 4 up, feel no pain against mortal wounds. Now that's fantastic. This addresses it's not something that I didn't like about the army, but something that was definitely a problem for the army was dealing with both Tau and Votan, and then also armies that had lost psychics. Was mortal wounds could obviate your toughness and durability advantages pretty quickly, and this will really help a lot. You can essentially those big guns that are going to be doing devastating wounds, like the railgun or the Magna Rail, you can basically count on them doing half damage against custodians. Okay, Trajan Valoris. Love this guy so much. The last game I played with custodians, this guy butchered an entire squad of Gas Space Marine Terminators all by himself, and it was glorious. And he looks just as good in black as he does in gold. Okay, so movement 6 inches. Custodians are not an especially fast army. Overall, they do have their fast units, but they're not super speedy. Toughness 6, very impressive. That's going to put him. That's going to make a lot of weapons that would normally wound infantry on a 2 do it on a 3. Save 2 a plus naturally. 7 wounds. Leadership 5 up, and objective control 2. Watcher's Axe Assault. Okay, 24-inch range, 2 attacks, ballistic skill 2, strength 5, AP minus 2, damage 3. This is a pedestrian shooting profile for a character. Nothing particularly special. I mean, it's a good shooting attack. Don't get me wrong, but this is not. Trajan is not out there to shoot. He can shoot, but that is not what he is there for. His real reason for this is the Watcher's Axe. Deploying that's going to be 6 attacks, weapon skill 2 up, strength 10, AP minus 2, damage 3. This is brutal. That's everything you get through is going to take down a dead Terminator, and this is gonna punish a lot. Now the AP is a little lower than you might think, but AP has been generally dropping in this edition, and I don't think he'll have any trouble making his presence felt. He can also deep strike now, like a Terminator. Feel no pain, 5 up, and he is a leader. So you could put him now in a squad of Alaris Terminators that really just go to town. He has the Marshal Kataz. He is also an epic hero, so he, on what passes what used to be the org chart and is now just basically a glorified rule of 3 chart, he occupies that epic hero location on that, and he prohibits any unit he is leading from having their characteristics modified. So a lot of factions now have penalties that they're going to inflict on characteristics. They're not going to work. So any unit roll test for models mean that unit excluding modifiers to saving throws. Okay, so yeah, that's gonna really. I guess that's to because they don't just ignore cover entirely as an army. So that's why they have the exception there. That's pretty good because he's gonna cut back on those debuffs that the enemy might be inflicting on you with some of the factions that we've seen so far. But then the moment check. Now this thing is fantastic already in 9th edition. And then now it looks like it's changed a little bit. But it is still really, really good. It goes up to attack scriptures with 12. So you can double your damage output once per game. Give him a 2-up involved. I don't know if I would tempt fate with that one because it's guaranteed you're going to roll 1. And models in this unit have to fight first. Okay, so he can do one of these effects 1 time per battle. That's it. Oh, and he has a native 4-up involved. I think the go-to here is the 12 attacks. That's the one that you're going to probably want. You can always put him in what's it called? In Captaris. If you're not going to fight first. But you might want to give him the fight first sometimes too. Force your opponent to make some painful activation choices with that. That could be really good too. I don't think you're going to use the 2-up involved all that often. I think most of the time you would be better served to give yourself fight first and kill the enemy rather than take the involved saves. Okay. Let's see here. Moving on, we have the Alaris Terminators. I'm very, very partial to these guys. I have some of the axe, some of the spear ones. I have a couple spear ones, even though spears have been considered not the greatest choice. Let's take a look at them. They're movement 5, toughness 7. Okay. Wow. So I think they've gotten a toughness boost. Let's take a look really quick here. What do they have now? Yeah, they've gone up to toughness 7. And Trahan what was his toughness in this edition? He was toughness 5 also, so both of them actually got toughness boost. If you forgot about that, yeah, he was not toughness 6. Save 2 up, wounds 4 up, leadership 6 up, projectile control 2. Ballistic grenade launcher. This is their little wrist-mounted grenade thing. That's easy to forget it's there. Don't forget this attack. 18-inch range, D6 attack, ballistic skill 2, strength 4, AP minus 1, damage 1. I think that's a little weaker than what they got now. Yeah, it's gone down from strength 5 to AP minus 3 to be now strength 4, AP minus 1. I think it's got more. Does it get more shots? Yeah, it's more, but it's more shots. Okay, so it's not really too much worse off. S1 Axe and Spear are both basically storm bolters with a little higher damage. This shooting from the Custodians, regular guys, is never anywhere near as impressive as their melee. Okay, in melee, we'll compare the two. The Axe's attacks 4, the Spear has 5. Both the Axe's weapon skill 3 for some reason. The Spear is 2. The Axe's strength 9 versus the Spear 7. The Axe's AP 1, the Spear's minus 2. Axe's damage 3 to damage 2 for the Spear. Now, I'm not sure why the Axe is a worse weapon skill. I don't know that that's appropriate, but it is what it is. We're stuck with it. And I don't know. It's a little hard to say. Well, it'll be wounding Marines on a 2 rather than 3 versus AP. It's damage 3, so it's going to take out a Terminator. Well, not Terminators or Gravis armor, but it will take those out in one hit. Whereas the Spear, you're going to take out only normal Marines and other 2 wound types in one hit. You're going to always be wounding them on a 3. Only things like Sisters, Eldari Guard will get wounded on 2. But you're going to be hitting more often, and you got 1 extra attack. And the Misericordia stays on its same old stats. Strength 5, AP minus 2, damage 1, and has 5 attacks. So I guess you're not going to make an extra attack with the Misericordia anymore. I'm going to have to wait and see what happens with the Misericordias. That's not extremely clear. I kind of wish they were keeping that, because it was always nice to have just that 1 extra jab with the Misericordia. That's I like that. Let's see. But if that's the weapon thing, and then I don't have to remodel my Vexilla, because apparently now Vexilla is going to be another Terminator that follows the unit around. It's not going to be a separate unit, I don't think. Maybe it will, but I don't believe that it will. Although maybe you can just take a squad of 1 of these and have that one have a Vexilla. Although would the point of that be? You're just getting 1 Terminator with 1 extra point of objective control. Okay. Slayer of Tyrants. You can reroll wounds. They can reroll wounds against characters, monsters, or vehicles. That is awesome. Tear up those harder targets. And from Golden Light, this is, you could remove it at the end of the opponent's turn and set it up with a reinforcement step of your movement phase. This is great because now you don't have to wait like an entire turn with him waiting when he's not doing anything. It's just boom, he's done, pick him up, and then drop him in at the end of your movement phase. That'd be very, very handy. If you're using singletons, like some people do, that could be a quick way to get them out of trouble and put them somewhere else where they can continue to provide value. Or it could be a way to suddenly shift the battlefield around and threaten something that the enemy didn't realize was going to be threatened. All right, let's move on. And we've got the Prosecutors. This is the troop squad. Okay, movement 6, toughness 3, save 3 up, wounds 1, leadership 6 up, tactical control 2. They have a bolt gun, which is just like the bolt gun that the Marines, the Battle Sisters have, and is really not changed from this edition. And they have a close combat weapon, which is a typical profile, except they have 2 attacks with it, which is kind of a nice little extra bite there in melee. That extra volume of attacks might mean they get a kill when they otherwise wouldn't. I don't actually. I have these. They're still on sprue. I have one squad assembled, but they're assembled as Witch Seekers, the current fast attack choice that shoots flamers. These ones, I just need to get them together, but they're definitely going to be handy to have. The value of these things is always in just having a cheap squad to run out and grab objectives, because they cost, like right now, they cost 55 points. The most basic squad of Custodians costs 135. If you wanted a Terminator to do it, you could do it for 60. That's still 5 points more for a Terminator that could be doing something else. They're great home objective sitters. And the Bolters have just a long enough range that they'll probably get to do a little work on top of that. Daughters of the Abyss. These guys are null, so they're no longer just completely unaffected by Psychics. They have a Feel No Pain 3 up against Psychics. And they have precision and devastating wounds. They can basically, they're a whole squad of snipers against psychers only, basically. That's good. That's kind of cool. You could also, I can think of all kinds of mean things to do with these things to enemy units that have psychers in them. And Vigilators, Executioner, Reaper. These are the what are currently in the elite slot, the melee ones of them. Now, Vigilators are one of those units, probably would be in my top 5 units that really need some upgrades or attention, because you don't, in my 9th edition, you do not need these. The elite slot has better choices. There's no reason to spend 60 points to get a squad of these guys when you could spend 60 points on another Terminator that's really more survivable and more mobile and versatile. You don't need essentially Adeptus Aurora's quality melee unit in the elite slot in the Custodians, and really they're not even as good as Repentio would be. So they've unfortunately not been the greatest thing, despite looking super cool. I love the appearance of these girls. They look really fantastic. And that sword is I like great swords a lot. They're kind of my go-to sword in role-playing games. And this particular one is, I like that, the little cross there, the claymore look. That's my thing. Okay. You do 2 attacks, weapon skill 3 up, strength 5, AP minus 2, damage 2. So not bad at all for a much cheaper model than a Custodian. We don't know what points values are going to look like yet, but still quite handy. But what's really great about these are anti-psyker 4 devastating wounds. So these guys, all of a sudden, if you're dealing with psychers, they can really lay down a hurt on top of their melee profile, which otherwise this melee profile is fine. It's not bad. It's not a bad melee unit. It's just that it's in the Custodian's army, and being compared to everything else, it doesn't look all that great. I don't know how much. I'm going to have to see the rest of the squad's abilities. They have some new glow up, some new tool to use. They might be super handy. Otherwise, I have a sneaking suspicion they're still going to be kind of an also-ran choice for the army, which I hope not, because I love how they look. And I have actually 2 squads still on the sprue, and I'd love to build one as Vigilators. I probably will regardless, just because I do want to have a squad of them. And they might get on the table just for narrative play at some point. Okay, and we'll take a look at a stratagem here. Vigil Unending. Epic Deed, Command Phase 1, Custodian, Infantry, excluding Anathema. So you can't use it on the Sisters of Silence, these girls. Okay. 1 destroyed model excludes characters or true useful. So you can't use it on characters. Basically, you can use this once per squad per battle. You can use it as many times as you want in the battle, as long as you have a different squad to use it on each time. And just bring 1 back. So that's fantastic. I might save my command points just to be able to use this every turn, because that is awesome. You're going to use this probably no more than, well, you're not going to use it more than 5. You've used it every command phase. If you went second and lost something, that'd be 1 command point. So each time, so that'd be 5. But that's 5 times just tech. If you just bring back regular custodians at 45 points apiece right now, that's 225 extra points of models back on the table. Again, we don't know what points values are going to look like yet in the new edition, but that's going to be good regardless of what they look like. Okay, ultra elite, even when support, they're likely to be best. So their magic ability. Studies one of the most formidable as the army uses fading stance to defeat whatever foes they face. Okay, yeah, they're very elite. They're almost always outnumbered. Now the thing is, the Sisters of Silence are clearly there to add numbers. They're like the regular battle sisters. They're normal human women. They're not superhuman augmentees. But what they are nulls or blanks. They are completely psychic, they are completely anti-psychic. They have no psychic interaction at all, and they actually have a negative effect on psychers that are near them. These humans like this are supposed to be super, super rare in the Imperium, and of great value because they're so useful for capturing rogue psychers. I don't know that using them as the filler to give the custodians more numbers really makes as much lore sense. I don't know if it was completely thought through, but it's all right. They need a place, and the custodians do need lower value, cheaper units to fill in some roles. Now, I don't know if it'll be possible in the new edition. It is currently technically possible to make an entire Adepta Anathema Psychani army. Now, I would need to look in the codex. I don't remember for sure. I don't think they can even take land raiders, but what you need is you would have to have, say, well, I guess you could have, there's a special character, Knight Centura, which is their headquarters choice. You could take her and 3 Knight Centras, and then you'd fill up the rest with 3 Vigilators, 3 Witch Seekers, and then as many regular Anathema Psychana units as you could, and then a whole bunch of Rhinos. And that's it. That's the whole army there. There's nothing but those few units. So if you did Anathema Psychana, it'd be even more limited in terms of options than Harlequins, who, by the way, we haven't seen yet. So let's see what we've got here. I do kind of want to read this book about Valerian. He's a shield captain of Aelia, who is that's the special character, Knight Centura. I wonder if she speaks and doesn't follow the vow of silence. She doesn't look like she has a thing over her face. Oh, yes, she does. Yes, she does. Okay. All right. Well, there's no extra commentary at the bottom to explore in this one. Tomorrow we're going. Yes, I noticed that the Hooting Hooligan is every finger the Orcs. Yes, the Orcs are not my faction, but they have a special place in my heart because they are so funny. They are, to me, the comic relief faction of the entire setting. Anyhow, thanks for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe, comment down below, and ring the notifications bell for more great content for Wilderness Wargaming. And we will see you back here again very soon.